At this time of year, the daylight hours become rather limited, the weather less predictable, and the temperatures generally are dropping. Now, it's not exactly ideal conditions when you're trying to swim, bike, or run. And that's a bit of a problem when you're a triathlete. Now, Mark, James, and myself are first to admit that we aren't big fans of winter, but we still need to try and do triathlon and at least film, so we are here to problem solve. And we're going to hit the problem head on by celebrating the shortest day with a nighttime triathlon. And we're going to be sharing our hints and tips as we go.
Heather, what are we doing here at Bobster?
Well, you know, it's our local open water swim venue.
Yeah, but it's the night and you know swimming pools are heated and lit at night.
Yeah, but it's all for a bit of fun, and apparently nighttime swimming is a bit of a thing. You'll soon see.
As long as we don't have to stay in the cold water too long, and we're safe, and we don't have to stay in the water too long.
Okay, you guys are probably wondering what on earth we're doing with nighttime swimming. And we know this is a little bit niche, but it's a great opportunity tonight, so we thought we'd embrace it. And swimming in the cold is still going to have a lot of relevance here. So obviously you need to think about safety first with any open water swimming, so make sure that you've got a spotter or you're swimming with somebody else. And looking ahead, you need to make sure you've got some warm clothes to put on afterwards, and ideally have a warm drink, anything that's just going to make your life easier and make sure you can warm up really quickly. And then there's visibility with whatever swimming you're doing, but especially when it comes to tonight, we need to make sure that we are seen. So we've got swim buoys, and a nice little tip: if you do happen to do some nighttime swimming, you can get something simple like a little bike light, pop it in your swim buoy, and you'll have a sort of beacon following you around the water. But on a serious note, you can actually get some specific ones like these. When you swim in the evening, you just simply clip it onto your hat, and then your spotter or lifeguard can make sure you're well seen. And we've got bright colour caps, so we're really not going to get lost. You might be wondering how we actually get a swim at this time of day, but the buoys are going to be lit up and it's a safe open water venue, so as long as we're going in a straight line, we'll be perfectly fine. But it's probably going to be a little bit more relevant when we come on to the cycling and the running later on.
All right, Mark, we ready to go?
Just
You ready, Heather?
Yeah, I'll catch you guys up. I'll see you in there in a moment,
Yeah,
all
we'll
right?
see you in the water.
Yeah,
Cool.
See you there. Oh, here it goes. Okay. Oh, it's colder than I thought. Do you know, I'm getting second thoughts about this. I don't reckon they're going to notice it's dark.
Yep.
They won't tell, will they?
Well, James, what did you think of that?
It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was
actually.
cool. Wasn't it really cool?
It was quite the experience swimming in the dark with little lights blobbing around you, and yeah.
And I know you're shivering now, but it wasn't that cold in there.
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
It's definitely getting cold now that we're out, and I'm very glad that we packed some warm gear to warm up, some hot drink.
We're doing a pretty slow transition here with some hot drink and warming up a little bit before we start the bike leg.
I think that's the aim of the game today. We're out to have fun. We're going to kit up now and get onto the bike. But where's Heather?
Good question.
All right, on to the more realistic of the winter training disciplines. It's time to hit the cycle. And whilst the guys are warming up and getting ready, it's probably time to address some of the preparation we need to do before we actually head out of the door. When you're riding in the dark, it's really important to know your route and plan it. You want to avoid any kind of rough roads that might have potholes or gravel or greasy corners because it's just so much harder to see when it's dark. And if you do want to have that added light and make it a little bit easier on your concentration, then maybe stick to areas that are well lit, sort of a larger city that's got floodlights down the road is one option. If you are going to head out into the countryside, I'd suggest trying to find nice open roads that don't sort of have tight hedges, because you'll get a little bit more ambient light if there's a clear moon and it's a nice dry evening. It's amazing how well you can actually see with a good set of lights. How was it?
Not warm.
Yeah, how you doing? Where are your bikes? I mean, I can't miss you guys, but
Oh, yeah.
I can hardly see you. Oh, phew. I was going to say, we couldn't really go for a ride otherwise. All right, we're pretty light-hearted as we headed off there about being seen, but I just want to dial down into the details. And these guys have a wonderful example of bright, bold kit, and that is pretty essential to just be bright. Even if there's no lights around, we're still going to spot them. But then when you've got car headlights, you want to actually consider wearing things that are reflective, because the lights will catch on any moving parts and be really noticeable to the driver. So whether that's on the back of your legs, it's on your shoes, or maybe even on your pedals, any movement will really be seen.
And then, of course, there's the lights. Now, in some countries, it's a legal requirement that you have a backlight and a front light if you're using a public road at night. But even if it's not a legal requirement, you should definitely have a backlight and a front light at the very least, and be very conscious of the battery life. Depending on how long you're going out there for, you definitely don't want one or both of those to die before you get home, because that can make a pretty sketchy ride home.
Yeah, and on that note, depending on the length of the ride, you may want to take a backup light, or even go to the extent of taking a battery pack and actually charging lights as you go. A lot of ultra adventure cyclists do that. Also, worth noting whether you want to be seen or you need to be able to see. So that will depend then on the lumen, the strength of the light that you purchase and you get. Particularly if you're going out into very dark stuff, you're going to want some really bright lights so you can see the road ahead of you.
Yeah, talking of really bright lights, you also want to be conscious of other road users. So if you have got your really bright light, you've been out on the road sort of away from any other cars or pedestrians, and you suddenly come back into the town, it's just polite to maybe drop your beam or lower it slightly so you don't completely blind people, because bike lights can be pretty strong. And on the note of these guys saying about batteries, it's worth knowing the actual battery time you've got on your light. But there's a bit of a tip for helping to save that or prolong it. If you're, say, riding up and down lots of hills, or you're doing hill reps in the dark, then you can put it on a much lower level when you're going uphill, because you're going to be going slower. You don't need to see very far ahead of you. But when you're coming back down the hill, you're going to be going much faster, and you probably want to be seeing the road further ahead, so you can put it back to a higher setting.
On that note, should we get our triathlon bike ride done before our batteries die?
We probably should, shouldn't we? Good idea.
If you are going out at night, it's always best to go with some mates. Obviously, a big group is far more likely to be seen, and of course, it's more fun too.
Yeah, and also, if you are heading out with a group or on your own, either or, let someone know where you're going if you can. And on that note, you can also actually share live locations from a lot of devices these days, so that they can literally track you as you're going.
Yeah, I mean, with a bit of preparation and forethought, nighttime riding can be fun. We might still have to convince James of this, but we're working on it. But it's not designed for any real hard riding. It's best to just do a steady state ride, or if you do want to get some quality, then that's where hills come in handy. You can blast it up and you can just come down nice and slowly.
Well, we've still got a run to do, guys.
I mean, we've got all night. What's the rush?
It is the longest night of the year. We're not going to run out of dark.
But can we really start running then?
Oh.
Come on.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So for the run, pretty much the same rules apply as the bike. Make sure you can be seen, and then if you're heading away, from the city lights, make sure you can see. It's probably worth avoiding any gnarly trails as roots and rocks are harder to judge in poor lighting. Plus, if you have an issue, it'll be harder for anyone to get to you. Also, a head torch is your friend for any nighttime running. There's a huge selection to choose from out there, so work out what it is that you're after, whether it's to be seen or to see. If you will be on any roads, make sure you have plenty of reflective clothing on. Having some sort of red rear light can help motorists know which way you're moving. I'd also recommend taking a phone and planning a route so that you know it's going to be safe. Again, if you can run with others or even join a club, you'll have far more of an enjoyable experience. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like I'm flying when running in the dark. I then get home, check my watch and realise it was just an illusion. However, there's still something satisfying about running in the dark. Well, you know what? That was really quite fun. It surprised me. I do feel quite satisfied. But honestly, not many of us are really going to be doing nighttime triathlons, but hopefully in amongst this fun today, you have found some advice or some tips that are going to help you with any nighttime cycling or running, perhaps for your commutes to and from work in the dark. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. If so, please do give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe down below.